Alright, hello friends and fellow adventurers. We are back at the table today, and we're going to continue Krog's mission. We stopped just as Sky was trying to patch up Kiba, finding out that he did in fact contract zombie rot from their previous combat. She did what she could to treat disease. Kiba was successful at his roll to fight off the infection, but that just pushed him back, and now he's at stage 1. So tomorrow at the beginning of the day he's gonna have to make another check to see whether he gets rid of it or it worsens. So we're bright and early, a brand new day. We rested throughout the night. I do need to go through and add them some XP because I'm really bad at doing that. I don't know why, because that's a really big part of the game. So we also discovered that we no longer need to continue down in this dungeon because the relic that Gari sent us down here to find is no longer here. We found a journal on this zombie stating that they were the ones that came down here before. They searched every single room they could down here. They found the room where it should be, and the relic is already missing, and Gari would not let them back up, so they just stayed down here and died inevitably. So the only alternate exit that we know of right now is in the room we passed with the Viper. So we got to go back. Sky is going to have to attempt to talk to the Viper again and see if he or she will let us pass and get out of this dungeon, and I assume make our way back to the monastery, because Krog's entire goal here was to find Sky and return her, which we have Sky, now we just have to return. So that will be one successful mission. My first mission, success, finally. 11 sessions later, 12 technically if you count this one, or however many it takes us to get back. So let's continue into that. They wake up that morning, Sky checks on Kiba again. Kiba is feeling a little bit better, but still looking pretty tough. Well, Kiba's looking better, but he's looking pretty rough. Algarius wakes up, stretches, does his morning routine. Same with Krog. Krog wakes up. He probably does a quick, brief little workout, being as he's very dexterous monks. So he does that. He prays to Erastil real quick. Probably thanking Erastil for not allowing them to have to continue down this dungeon, yada yada yada. Anyway, they are going to make their way out. Sky's going to lead the way. She makes her way back in. Now let's see. Now this is the next morning. Perhaps the snake is not even there. That would be awesome. And I'm going to say that we're going to leave that 50-50 because we determined that there's no nest here, so the snake isn't guarding any eggs. Chances are it's most likely out hunting anyway. So I would actually, I'll make that likely, since the way I worded that sentence was most likely. So, likely odds. You know what, we will set up a new, I'll ask this question first at the current chaos factor, and then we're going to set up a new scene. So, chaos factor 4, likely odds. Is the Viper out hunting right now? 70 is a no, so it is not. It is still right there. So Sky is going to have to talk to this. The others kind of like tiptoe their way out, just outside the door a little bit, but not far enough where the Viper would see. That way Sky is the only one communicating with it. She approaches the Viper. Excuse me, Viper. I know we said we would leave you in peace, and we have, and we intend to again. My friends and I need to get out of this place, and your entranceway in and out of here is the only way that we know of right now. Would you be so kind as to allow us to utilize your entrance or your exit? We will be brief. We will leave and we will never return to this place. You have my word. Okay, so Sky has a +7 to her nature, which is what she's going to need to use to communicate with this animal, the Viper. And the Viper has a will DC of 6, or well, a will of 6. And I'm going to further lower that by 2. So it's going to make it a DC of 14 that Sky is going to need to beat. So with her plus 7, first roll of these new dice, a 9 and a 7 is a 16, and that is a success. Perfect. The snake nods in agreeance, and it makes itself known that it is going to watch them, but it is going to allow them to pass. So, very carefully and very respectfully, all of our heroes, including little Malgarius and Kiba, I think Kiba would take up the rear. You know, just like an animal nodding to the other animal as it left. And with no intentions of ever returning here, our heroes leave this cave, and the fresh air hits their nostrils. Although humid and warm, it is delicious tasting. So we need to find out how the weather has changed since so it was pouring rain the previous day. And I don't think that has changed much. Let's find out. Just for fun, let's roll on our little weather table we have generated here. That's a 58. So it's going to be partly cloudy and muggy. Hot, sticky clouds. I like that. That's kind of how I kind of envisioned them coming out anyway. The humidity hits them like a wave. And although the sun is behind the clouds, it is still plenty hot out here. But the morning is young, and our heroes, our party, need to find their way back away from this place. Now, I know they didn't travel very far, and if I'm thinking about this logically, I mean, this hole would have to come up outside of the army wall. There's not a snake just going in and out within the confines of the walls there. So I'm thinking they are obviously outside of the walls, but I don't think it's very far. Probably even within view, they can see the palisade walls going around the camp. So they're not completely out of the woods yet, but I mean, with that being said, they are in the woods. Now, the area around the camp was cleared of logs for the most part. But again, the snake would have had some type of cover for when it comes in and out of here. So maybe this even kind of comes out into like the side of the bank of like a river. So as they kind of come out above them, the cliff top, they can see the palisade wall kind of is butted up against this natural river. Obviously they would have to have a water source too, so it would make sense for the camp to be near a water source. So I like that. It makes a lot of sense. So they really don't have much room between the river in front of them and the exit that they just came out of. But they are going to quickly try to get their bearings and find a way back home. Sky is very good with nature. Krog, not so much. As well as survival. Krog sucks at survival, and well, that sucks. I just realized that my mic has been muted for a while now. So a quick recap on what happened. We left the dungeon. Sky used her survival check to find their bearings. She succeeded. They traveled along a river for a few hours, made it to a larger river that Sky knew should be right where it was, and upon doing that, they turned and headed south, knowing that Nantambu lied a few more hours along this river. But we also rolled to see if they did this safely, and we got an extreme no on that. So something is going to be attacking them. Now, originally I had thought that it was going to be some type of animal, but for one, I think Sky would be very reluctant to do that, and she would probably try to talk her way out of it. Not that that would be a bad thing. I was still going to go along with that. but going over the list of level 1 creatures just here in the Monster Core book that I have, there's really not many options other than already another snake and a giant gecko. So I think we're gonna go with something a little less animal, and I think we're just gonna keep it simple. We're gonna go with a lizard folk, and we're gonna do a lizard folk defender. And just real quick, just for fun theatrics sakes, what is this lizard folk defender out here doing by himself? Let's go action, because he's doing something out here, something action related. That is 09 attain and 93 value. Attain value. Okay, so he's out here. And he's in the riverbed, because we're walking along the riverbed and we are encountering him. I'm thinking he sees us first, so he has time to kind of like hide. There's 4 of us, so why would he even attack us instead of just hiding? Maybe he's very, very macho, very proud. He came out here, he's hunting in the rock bed for arrowheads, spearheads, things of this nature. So I'm thinking he's some type of warrior and also some type of craftsman back at his tribe. So maybe he's trying to prove himself. He sees the Dromaeosaur, who is very weak and sluggish. A small little goblin man, to him probably looks weak and frail. A woman and a monk dressed in robes. I'm sure he probably recognizes that to some degree. So he thinks he might actually have a good chance at this. So he lays in wait until we come walking by, and he jumps out. Let's bring up a map real quick. I think this should work actually pretty well. We used this in one of our previous encounters. Okay, lizard folk defender. We're gonna have him. He's gonna be hiding behind, let's say this is a tree here, and let's pretend that this is a river. Obviously it's not, but it's a map that I already had up and ready to go. So we're walking along the river. The lizard folk hears us first. We're not being too quiet, we're just trying to keep a good pace and get back to town before nightfall, which is actually approaching pretty soon. He hears us. He ducks kind of behind a larger rock next to where the riverbank elevates, and we come walking past, and he waits until we get a few feet past him, and he is armed with a flail and a shield and a couple javelins actually. So I'm thinking he has a javelin in hand, he has his shield in his other hand. He waits till we come walking by, and he launches his javelin at whoever is in back, which honestly I'm kind of thinking is unfortunately going to be Malgarius. Now we're going to have the lizard folk just go first. I'm not going to worry about rolling initiative. Playing solo, honestly, initiative really doesn't impact me that much. So Sky's in the lead. Kiva's kind of like probably following her, maybe right next to her. So Krog would have been behind, and Malgarius was just behind that. The lizard folk launches his javelin, trying to beat an AC of 16, which he does because he has a +8, dealing 1d6 plus 3 damage. Ooh, 3 plus 3, that's 6 total damage, and it's gonna hit him right in the right arm. So Malgarius is walking along, minding his own business, probably looking over across the river water. Maybe there's a little critter over there he's kind of admiring, when all of a sudden a javelin flies through the air, hitting him in the right arm, piercing his muscle and digging into his bone. He takes 6 points of damage. Ooh. Almost half right off the bat. So 2 more actions left for the lizard folk. And he already has his shield in hand. I think he'll draw a second javelin. He'll throw again. I think that makes complete sense. But he's only going to have a +2 to this throw. 9 and a 2 is going to be a miss. It's a total of 11. Misses. As Malgarius turns around, he sees the second javelin coming. He sidesteps it, and it goes clattering along the rock bed. Malgarius is up. Malgarius, I think he's going to kind of like stumble back. He's going to basically forfeit his turns this round. He's going to pull the javelin out of his arm for an action. He's going to try to staunch the bleeding a little bit, not making any actual checks. So it's going to take us to Krog. Krog sees this, turns around, quickly scans the area. He sees the lizard folk hiding behind his wooden shield made of sturdy reeds. Krog uses first action to 5, 10, 15. He moves up as quick as he can up towards the lizard folk man, and he gets down in his ready stance, and he throws his flurry of blows, his 2 punches. His first one dealing a 7 plus a 7, I believe. Correct, that's only a 14, so he misses his first shot, and his second shot is only going to be a +3. Ooh, a 3 and a 3 is a 6, that's another miss. Krog throws his 2 punches, but the lizard folk's quick enough to move the shield in front of both of them. Krog hitting his knuckles on the hardened reeds of the lizard folk's shield. Next up, we would have Kiba, but Kiba doesn't have their own turn. It's going to be Sky. Sky knows that Kiba is hurting, so she is not going to issue any commands to Kiba, except actually she's going to use first action to command Kiba to go hide. She does not want Kiba hurt in this at all. And her, let's see, how far away is she from, how far did I make us? 20 feet? Yeah, that makes about sense. I like that. It's pretty accurate, I think, for how long the lizard folk would have waited to attack. So she is going to use a spell called Livewire, which is basically like, it says here, you conjure a length of sharp copper filament humming with electrical current that strikes your foe, yada yada yada. So she gets to do a d4 of slashing and a d4 of electric damage, but how I'm kind of seeing it and flavoring it is she has like this electric whip that she kind of casts out as she casts her spell. So with 30-foot range, she is well within range as her lightning whip kind of manifests from her hand, whips around to the side. She has a straight shot between her and the lizard folk man, and she is going to use that, and it's actually a cantrip, which is even fucking cooler. So that's going to use both of her actions to do so. She has a +7 to this, apparently. Thank you to... Ooh, a +7 plus a 9. That's a 16. Perfect, right on the nose. So she gets a success. So he takes full damage. He's going to take a d4 of electric and a d4 slashing. I hate these d4s, so I'm not going to roll them. I'm going to roll 2 d8s and cut them in half. So it's going to be a 1 and 2. Unfortunately, only 3 damage, as the whip cuts through the air, wrapping around his... Where does it hit him? In the right leg. That's kind of cool. She whips it into his right leg. It digs in, starting to kind of sear the flesh as it dissipates a little bit too, leaving a cut mark as well. Unfortunately, only 3 damage was done to him, but that's a start. The lizard folk is up next. Although Sky is the previous one that hit him, Krog is right up in his face. Now, he threw his javelin for his last turn, so he is currently has nothing in his primary hand. So he's going to have to use his first action to draw his flail from his hip, which he does. And kind of as he draws it, with one motion, he flings it upwards towards Krog. Now, these red dice roll high all the time, so I'm sure it's going to roll a nat 20. Here we go. Attacking Krog with the flail. Haha. Use reverse psychology on you dice. 5 plus the 8, I believe. Yes, plus 8 with the flail. That is not going to be enough to beat Krog's AC, but the lizard folk is not going to give up without a fight. He is going to attack once more. Ooh, with a 3, another miss. Krog is way too quick for this slow flail. He watched him draw it. He ducked out of the way of the first one, and he jumped over the second one. Malgarius. I think Malgarius is just going to sit out of this fight. We're not going to bother with him. It's just an extra turn. I want to get this fight over with. And I believe after this fight, I'm going to tally it up, but I think this is going to level them up too, which is perfect timing. They're going to level up, get back to town, make it back to the monastery, relax, be able to actually level up. Regardless, we are up to Sky. Sky sees Krog and his nimble dodging. She's going to... No, because that's going to waste an action, but she does have an extra action if she uses 2, yada yada yada. She is going to move up just a hair. I'm not using the terrain of this map as is, so there's not necessarily a stump in her way that would be blocking her path. But she's going to move up, in her second action, she is going to... She's going to cast an actual spell. She's going to use one of her spell slots. Now, I wanted to use the animal allies, but I'm not... It says a 5-foot emanation, but I think that would just be around her, and that wouldn't make much sense, but it doesn't give a range. So, I don't know. I'm not going to mess with... I'm going to look into that. So, for right now, I'm going to use a nice little spell called Hydraulic Push. So it has really great range, 60 feet. And I'm going to target this creature, obviously. So you call forth a powerful blast of pressurized water that bludgeons the target and knocks it back. Make a ranged spell attack roll. So that is going to be a +7 for Sky as she takes aim and she starts casting her spell, muttering her incantations. The runes around her hands begin to glow as she casts a natural 20. Ooh, yes. Now, critical success, do that, which is what this is. That is awesome. The target takes 6d6 bludgeoning damage and is knocked back 10 feet. So, wow, 6d6, that is awesome. I don't think I've ever rolled this much dice in Pathfinder. Alright, so right off the bat we have 16 points of damage. Yes, what does he have? He has 18, so 16 points of damage. Wait, is that before I double it? Or is that... It just says critical success, you roll 66. And then you double it? I don't know, that seems a little too much. I'm just gonna keep it at that. So it's gonna be 16 points of damage. I think we might have needed to double that, but that seems too much, so I'm not gonna deal with that right now. It was already a really good hit either way. And that was her spell slot for that. So she can only use that once, but that was both of her actions, all 3, because she moved. The lizard folk man, he was pushed back 10 feet as well. Now we are by the river. I think we were less than 10 feet away from the river. So I think that pushed him into the water. So he had to start swimming. So his first action is, let's say, yeah, it bumped him back 10 feet, splashed into the water. So it's going to take him an action to get back out of the water and get up to his feet. So his second action, he is going to... But he has his flail in his hand. So he's going to have to use a second action to walk back up to Krog. Krog just kind of probably snickered as he watched this lizard folk get rocketed into the river. He swam back up, he got to his feet, and he, anger in his lizard folk eyes, he runs up to Krog. And he's gonna take a strike. That's gonna be an 11 plus his 8. That's gonna be a 19, which is a hit. Krog, having 13 hit points right now, is gonna take a d6 plus 3. 3 and 3 is gonna be 6. Boom, that's half of Krog's current health. 6, taking him down to 7 hit points. But that was the final action of that. Krog up again, feeling disappointed that he missed his last ones, and watching this lizard folk get pushed into the river and crawl back out just further increases his drive to get this creature defeated. So Krog, he's going to use his fists. So this is going to be non-lethal. So he's not going to try to kill this thing, because again, he's a monk, he's peaceful. He sees this as a sentient creature. So non-lethal, he is going to strike with his flurry of blows again. A 13 plus 7 is going to be a 20. So that is a success. So even, he gets to add his, so no matter what, even if he rolled minimum damage, he is going to knock this lizard folk unconscious. So lizard folk, boom, falling unconscious. Next to the river, still dripping wet from just crawling out. Malgary is tending to his wounds. Kiba, peeking up out of the bushes, sees that the fight is over, and he comes rushing out over to Sky, who was unscathed during that. She used a bit of her spell power, so she kind of puts her hand up to her head, kind of as if she's a little exhausted, but she bends down and she pets Kiba on the head. Good boy, Kiba. I just wanted to keep you safe. I promise you will get into the next fight. Krog, after he landed his one punch, where did he hit? Just for fun's sake. Right in the torso, just like a good haymaker straight to the chest, right past this lizard folk's shield, knocking him unconscious. I'm thinking here, I'm just gonna ask this one question and then we're gonna call it. Does Krog wish to bring this lizard folk man back to the monastery? Maybe give him a home or something. I mean, Krog doesn't know anything about this lizard folk man. I think it's unlikely that this guy is just kind of out here on his, but he was out here on his own, you know? I kind of went with the idea that he was from his tribe and out here, but maybe he wasn't. So is Krog going to... Chaos Factor 5. I think this is very likely. Is Krog going to kind of talk the others into maybe binding this guy and bringing him back? Not as a prisoner, but... Okay, maybe he wouldn't bind him, because again, he's not a prisoner. He's not going to take him. But, yeah, okay. Instead of Krog is going to bind him if this comes to be... Well, let's just ask a question. 99, extreme no. It doesn't even cross his mind. Krog's had a long day. I was getting ahead of myself, that's why I need to wait for the dice before I start making my plans. Krog's had a long day. He's glad to be rid of that. They need to continue on their journey if they're going to make it back before nighttime. So that is where we're going to end it. Cool session. Thank you so much for watching if you did. And as always, I will catch you next time. Have a good day. Goodbye, friends.